Hi, my name is Mark Nieves. I'm here very excited to be talking to the writer and director of the new movie Running on Empty with Daniel André. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Mark. How you doing?
Very good, very excited to be talking to you. I'm very excited for the film. First of all, congratulations on your
Thank
first film, feature film, because you've done other films. So how was it being in the process of writing the film and also directing, because there's two different ways you can combine them. So the views that you have on the characters and the story is the view you have is the one you're bringing to the film.
Yeah, it's so I guess directing was just kind of a natural thing to fall into. It's something I sort of always knew I would fall into eventually. I started off acting when I was 5 years old. I did tons of theater my whole life, and that led into doing some, TV and commercial work and some film work when I was a kid as well. And then I've also worked in music and I worked in post-production. And so it's kind of this equal balance of like being a creative mixed with all of the technical aspects of production, whether it's film or music or what have you. And I think that really, along with the theater background, and it's funny, I never realized this as a kid because you're so focused on wanting to do movies and TV. And, I thought theater was just sort of this big thing in the middle. But what I realized, especially when we were making the film, was how much kind of a work discipline and sort of a collaborative environment that instilled in me so long ago.
Yeah, the movie is great. I loved it because I like the romantic comedy aspect of the movie. But also the big question is that Keith, his character knows when he dies, and there's this process that everybody knows that when they're about to die. And would you like to know when you die? That's a question for you.
I've been asked that a lot recently, and I think I'd rather stick to sort of the mystery of it. I think. However, I will say a weird. On a side note, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't something I was trying to work through in writing the film. However, I think I realized recently after we finished the film, I no longer am afraid of death. So if anything else, I did accomplish that.
Yeah, I really like that because the way that everything that insurance and everything, that sense of knowing was kind of into the film. It's kind of a bit of spice of science fiction. But if there was the technology, I don't think it will be the same way it will be treated. Like if you're going to get an insurance, you have to take the test. If you're going to have buy a mortgage, you have to get a test. So it was kind of weird, but if that technology existed, I think the way you implement it in the film will be it will work that same way. That for everything you need the test.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was sort of by design because the whole death date thing, as intriguing as it is, and kind of high concept as it is, it was important for me for that to not take away from the storytelling or the character or the lead character's journey, to where, a lot of people say sci-fi element. And yeah, it's an element, but again, it was, I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of explaining all the technology and this and that, because at the end of the day, that's really not what the story was about. Also, if that would exist, and like you said, I think it would become quickly normalized by society. Like, oh, okay, I got my death date, and it kind of stinks. It's in 6 months or whatever. But we would also, as a capitalist society, would very much figure out how can we monetize that in our day-to-day life. And I'm glad you picked up on that.
Also, the way Keith's character, he basically when he has the due date, they said, in that kind of sense, once he made Lucy's character, she opened up his mind and saying, "You had this amount of time. We're not sure, but you had this amount of time. Do something you like. Do something you love. Just do something you have a passion for it." And that's something that is also ingrained in the movie that sometimes we take for granted time. And that's a way of seeing how everything's going to be processed, the way that if you have a due date, you know what to do and what you have to do to be happy. We see his friend Jay on the film, the way this process, like, no, you have to go to a strip joint, you have to have fun, and then that didn't fulfill him. In other words, the way it ended up was worse than it was before. So it has so many things inside the movie that if you analyze it, it makes sense. And how was this process of writing the film? When did you begin? How long did it took? And also, I noticed the movie had another title before. So the reason why I changed it from, I think, more in Sherwood Oak to Running on Empty.
So with the first question, that wasn't me. The film will be released internationally under its original name, Mort in Sherman Oaks, and it was sort of just a play on words, Mort, mortician, Mort, death, and in Sherman Oaks, and that's sort of where I've just happened to live over the last 12 years out in Los Angeles. And so that was just a Lionsgate call. I didn't really have any input on that. That was just for the domestic release. So that being said, Morton Sherman Oaks will largely be the title for all the international releases. And then as far as writing it, it was I think when it, at least the way I go about writing, is the hardest part of writing is all of the not writing. It's sort of thinking about the story, thinking about the themes you want to talk about, and kind of then formulating an idea that turns into a story in your head. So most of the process for me is really, really up in my head. And then I kind of start doing an outline. And then once I actually sit down to write, it makes the writing relatively quickly because I have pretty much the story and the outline. And it's just a matter of kind of filling in the dialogue. But more on the creative side, it was, I'm a fan of all genres of film. But for me, it was kind of when you think of, what is the first film I want to make? What am I trying to accomplish? And really what it came down to was just kind of remixing or doing my versions or using the inspiration from independent cinema that I grew up watching. So, all the way back to Five Easy Pieces, which was a little bit before my time to see in theaters, to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Charlie Kaufman, probably my favorite screenwriter of all time. Another one was Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas Anderson, Martin Scorsese's After Hours. And so I kind of wanted to do my version of, and for lack of a better word, quirky, kind of outside the box comedy.
Yeah, you did a great job. It's very, very good. I love to make you reflect on the things that are happening currently in your life and then afterwards. And also, I can be a little bit spoiling, not that much detail, but I enjoyed the part where Q's character got a chance to talk to the lady who was going to retire that she also knew when she, and also that's kind of a speech that basically say, go live your life, go have fun, because you never know, you have to enjoy it. So on creating this script, did you take people in your life that made your characters grow, or how was this process of writing? The reason I'm asking a little bit more about writing, because I think most of my audience are also want to know a little bit behind the scenes of the process of making a film.
Yeah. So basically, it's funny. A lot of people tend to think with writing that it's sort of just like a mirror reflection of your own life in some way. I had some people write it and or read it, and they would ask me if I am Mort. And one thing I was really sort of cognitive, or at least trying to do with the script, and at least in general for now with all my projects, is I'm not really looking to put me up there to tell my kind of story. It was important to me to sort of make it as far away from me as possible. However, now that, it's all put together and it's out there, and when I've watched it, I actually see a lot of my ideas or things I've said in life. And that I think that's just natural for any writer. You use your experiences, and it comes out in the dialogue of the characters. But as far as the characters, they weren't really based on anyone I knew. They were really mostly fictionalized. But again, if I'm thinking of a funny line a friend of mine said years ago that might fit that character, I'll bring that into the script.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I did enjoy the movie. And go ahead, you can follow Daniel on Instagram. Let me go ahead, have everything right here. I have your it's Daniel _André _LA. You can go and find Daniel on Instagram. You can follow him, watch his being in LA, his dogs and everything. Enjoy the movie. The movie is going to be available on the video on demand on August 27th. There's a handful, but there we go. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and congratulations on the career on your film. And this is just the beginning.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on being a director and also the writer.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate you having me.